Hello, everyone. Tonight we're going to talk about the different types of Alzheimer's disease. They call Alzheimer's disease a network problem. This is the reason why they just can't come up with one medicine to help with Alzheimer's disease. They're finding that amyloid proteins come to the brain because is either an infection or toxins or sugar in the brain, and amyloids come to protect the brain. So, functional medicine doctors look at Alzheimer's disease as a systems problem, and they come at it from what's happening at the core of your body and start to heal some of the core issues in the body. Because when you start to heal some of the core issues in your body, then you end up with less toxins, less inflammation, less infection. All these things start to get better, and you stop creating amyloids in your brain. And once your brain is getting sufficient nutrients, all the amyloid will go away naturally. So there are 6 different kinds of Alzheimer's disease. What we're looking at today is we're looking at my RECODE report. When you go to apollohealthco.com and take their free CQ test, if your brain is showing that you're already having some problems, they'll recommend you for RECODE. If it's not showing so many problems, they might recommend you for PRECODE. PRECODE is prevention. RECODE means that you go into a process of healing your brain. I've been in the RECODE program. In April, it will have been 1 year. And every 6 months, I get a new RECODE report. I take all the tests again, and I see how all my systems are functioning, and I get a new RECODE report with suggestions of where to go now. And my RECODE report when I started looked a lot different than it does now because many things have healed in my body. So the different subtypes of Alzheimer's disease is type 1, which is inflammatory. Type 1 is associated with inflammatory markers such as HS-CRP, and the inflammation may be due to infections or a leaky gut or a suboptimal diet or many other factors. The risk for type 1 is increased if you have an APOE4, or if you are an APOE44. Chronic infections and trans fats damage your gut microbe. For me, if I'm not functioning optimally, the first thing my functional medicine doctor says, inflammation. Yeah. So my inflammatory markers have gotten much better since I found out that I have a vitamin B deficiency due to a genetic mutation called MTHFR, which means my body doesn't methylate vitamin B well. I'm now taking methylated vitamin Bs. We do a test for homocysteine to see how well your body is breaking down toxins. And when I came into the program, my homocysteine was high. And my homocysteine is now almost in a normal range. The second type of Alzheimer's disease, or what they're calling type 1.5 here, is called glycotoxic, which many Many doctors are now thinking of Alzheimer's disease as type 3 diabetes. Glycotoxic is when your body is having chronically high glucose levels, which damages multiple protein cells and tissues, leading to inflammation and autoantibodies, thus increasing your inflammatory status type 1, which is why they call this as 1.5. Diabetes is a highly inflammatory. Meanwhile, the responding high insulin levels cause insulin resistance, reducing the trophic effects of insulin and increasing the risk for type 2. Risk for type 1 is increased by APO4 carriers and by type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes. The third type of Alzheimer's disease is called atrophic. And atrophic Alzheimer's is associated with the reduction in trophic support such as vitamin D, thyroid hormone, vitamin B12, estradiol, testosterone, insulin, and neurotrophins. Risk for type 2 is increased by ApoE4, early hysterectomy patients, meaning you had a hysterectomy under 40 years of age without any hormone replacement. Low vitamin D levels in some cases causes menopause and andropause. It is important to rule out sleep apnea as well, since optimal oxygen support for brain health is critical to avoid type 2 diabetes, type 2 Alzheimer's disease. The third type of Alzheimer's disease is toxic Alzheimer's disease. Type 3 is quite different from types 1, 1.5, and 2, and often presents with other features than memory loss, such as depression, problems calculating, organizing, following instructions, and finding words. Type 3 is associated with exposure to toxins such as mercury, high copper levels, anesthetics, mycotoxins such as mold or tick-related toxins, Lyme disease. Risk for type 3 is increased by a poor detoxification system due to reduced function of liver or kidneys, constipation, air pollution, exposure to smoke, repeated exposure to fish with high mercury levels, toxins from specific molds, pesticides, herbicides, and other toxic exposures. Type 4 is vascular. We used to think of vascular disease as being unrelated to Alzheimer's disease, but over the past several years, it's become clear that vascular abnormalities contribute importantly to Alzheimer's disease. In type 4, chronic vascular disease, which may be associated with high homocysteine or vascular amyloid or abnormal lipid profiles. Risk for type 4 vascular Alzheimer's disease is increased by a high triglyceride levels or low HDL levels, inflammation that compromises blood vessels, sleep apnea, poor diet, among other factors. My vascular issues have gotten so much better since I've been in the program. And type 5, Alzheimer's disease is traumatic. When the brain is traumatized, due to an auto accident. The amyloid associated with Alzheimer's disease is produced as a response. Trauma is thus a risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. In many cases, the amyloid is removed, and thus chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, which occurs in football players, among others, was featured in the film Concussion. Good film to go and watch, Concussion. Typically blocks amyloid, but is related to Alzheimer's disease in featuring neurofibrillary tangles made of tau protein. Risk for type 5 traumatic Alzheimer's disease is increased with sports-related head injuries, motor vehicle accidents, falls, whiplash head movements, and other forms of head trauma. So you can see that when you get your report, these will be put in the area of where your bigger issues are. For instance, when we go to my report, and you can see that I don't mind if anybody sees this. So here I'm going through my suggested vitamins, my suggested therapy, my suggested health plan, my treatment plan. Going to go all the way to the top where it's going to show me where I fall in these 6 different types. So for me, glycotoxy is not one of my issues. Trophic loss, I'm still working on getting my thyroid hormones together, bringing my zinc and my copper in balance. My homocysteine has come down to 7.1. They want it below 7, so I'm getting very close. We're still trying to figure out inflammation as it results to toxicity. I seem to be highly susceptible to toxicity, but I've made some progress. Toxicity is my big issue. My vascular is quickly moving into the green. It's getting much better. They say that the trauma from, I've had a concussion, I've also had meningitis, I've had whiplash, I've had a lot of things that contribute to trauma in the head. I also am ruled by Aries in my chart, and Aries rules the head. So trauma is one of the issues here, and it will get better as everything else gets better. And then it gives me a plan that tells me what to do. And each person's report is going to look different. But this is my report. And so this tells me where I'm doing my work, what I need to test for, what are the main things I need to work on. And your trained recode doctor will be looking at your report too. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of the report too, because I want to show you how extensive the report is. This tells you how much exercise to get, what kind of exercise to get, what food to eat, what not to eat, how long to fast, everything. I like that they have it all. It's one program we're in. It's not just following a certain kind of food plan. It's a program that you're in. You're following you're following the whole program. So I'm just going to go to the very end. I've had people say, wow, that's expensive. I don't want to spend all of that money. But I want to show you why in the end you want to spend all that money. First of all, you want to feel better and you want to get this kind of report at the end that tells you exactly what's happening with your body. Based on your history, they look at what's in the green and what's in the red for you. And then they do all of these tests. Things that get better, things that get worse. This guides your whole report as to what you work on and what you don't work on. Isn't that interesting? My friends, there is hope for Alzheimer's disease, but you have to jump through the hoops. You have to pay the money, you have to get the report, you have to make the changes. That's just all there is to it. This is why I'm becoming a functional health coach, to help people with all of these changes they need to make. Until next time, be well, be happy, be peaceful. I'll see you next time.